We have so far 150 questions. I don't think it'll be possible to answer all of them. This morning, probably one needs a month to answer them. And you won't be here, and I won't be here. I think before we answer these questions, please remember that we are sharing the question as well as the answer. Your particular question may not be answered because there are too many of them to go into each one. But I think we have more or less chosen or gathered together representative questions out of that 140. So I hope you will not mind if your particular question is not answered. Most of us, I'm afraid, ask questions and try to find an answer from others. When we do put a question, one must find out why we put them. Is it a genuine, serious, applicable question, or just a fanciful question, and therefore no answer that can be properly correct and true? But as we said, we're going to share together the question and the answers. And I hope that we can do that this morning. I hope you're not too hot. The speaker has said that going to an office every day from 9 to 5 is an intolerable imprisonment. But in any society, of all kinds of jobs have to be done. Is case teaching, therefore, only for the few? You want? Shall I read it again? The speaker has said that human society is so constructed throughout the world that most people are occupied with jobs, pleasant or unpleasant, from 9 to 5 every day of their life. And he said also that it's an intolerable imprisonment. I don't know how you feel about it. Probably you like being in prison. Probably you liked your jobs from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, rushing back and all the rest of it. What shall we do? To the speaker, he won't tolerate it for a single minute. For the speaker, I'd rather do something which would be pleasant, helpful, and necessary to earn enough money and so on. But most of us accept this prison, this routine. Right? You understand? We accept it. So what shall we do? Nobody as far as one is capable of sufficient, efficient observation, nobody has questioned this. We say it is normal, it's the way of society, it's the way of our life, it's the way we must live. But if we all see together that such a imprisonment, which it is actually, and that we all feel it is intolerable, not just verbally, but actually do something about it, we'll create a new society, right? We will. If all of us say we will not tolerate for a single day this routine, this monstrous activity of 9 to 5, however necessary, however good and pleasant, then we will bring about not only psychological revolution but also outwardly. Right? We may agree about this, but will we do it? You might say, no, I can't do it because I have responsibility. I have children, I have a house and mortgage, insurance. Thank God I haven't got any of those. And so you might say, well, it's easy for you to talk about all this. But it's easy for the speaker to talk about it because he refuses to go in that pattern. From boyhood, he refused it. Now, if we all consider that such a psychological as well as physical revolution of this kind, not bloody and all the rest of it, then we'll create a quite a different society, won't we? So, you want others to create the society and you can then slip into it. That's what we're all waiting for. Few struggle, work, create, and refuse to enter into this rat race. And the others say, yes, after you have constructed that what you think is the right society, then we'll all join you. But we don't do it together. That's the whole problem. Right? If we all had this, not idea, the fact, that to spend our life from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, probably before that, every day of our life for 60 years and more, we would do something about it. Like as if you refuse to have wars, you understand, wars, killing other people in the name of your country or God, your whatever the ideal is, if we all refuse to kill another, there would be no wars. Right? But we have constructed a society, built a society based on violence, armaments, each nation protecting itself against other nations. And so we are perpetuating wars, killing your sons, your daughters, everything. And we support it. In the same way, we support, maintain this imprisonment. May be pleasant for those who have an agreeable job, But those who refuse to enter this game, they will act, they will do something. So the problem is, do we see the importance or the necessity of this change? After all, human mind is not merely occupied with a particular job, pleasant or unpleasant. Human mind has the quality of other things which we disregard. We are concerned with the whole of life, not just career, 9 to 5, how we live, what we do, what our thinking is, whether there is affection, care, love, compassion, all that is part of life. But we are so conditioned to this idea that we must work and create a structure of a society that demands that you work from morning till night. The speaker refuses to enter that rat race. It isn't that he has got certain gifts or that somebody will look after him, but he refuses to enter that. I wouldn't go for a single day from 9 to 5 for anybody, for anything. I might die, but I wouldn't do that. In the same way, I wouldn't kill another human being, whatever the circumstances. I know all what you're going to say about if your sister is attacked, you know, all that game. Because violence produces more violence. You're seeing that Ireland. But we are also timid. We're also nervous, frightened, anxious. We want the security which we think we have, which we haven't got. So will you go into this and find out if you can free yourself from that rat race, and to find out one must exercise capacity, intelligence, not say I won't do it. You don't do it because you are intelligent, not because you are told or you have read in some book or some philosopher. I think it's very clear. And also, the question asks, is case teachings therefore only for the few? This is one of the questions that is asked over and over and over again. What do you think? If it is for the few, it's not worth it. It means just go slowly. The speaker says it's for everyone. But everyone is not serious, has not the energy because it's dissipating in all various ways. And so, gradually, there are very few You follow? So, observing it, say it's only for the few. Whereas actually, if you apply, go into it seriously with a spirit of investigation and wanting to live a different kind of life, it is for everyone. There is nothing secret about it. But there is great mystery if you go beyond the limitation of thought. But we don't do any of these things. We don't test it out. We don't apply. We don't eat the food that's put before us. And the few that eat it say we are the elite. They actually are not the elite. They are only the serious people that have applied, thought about it, gone into it, applied, seen that it affects their daily life. It's only that then one can create a different kind of society. Isn't insight intuition? Would you discuss this sudden clarity some of us have? What do you mean by insight? And is it a momentary thing, or can it be continuous? Shall I read that question again? Isn't insight intuition? You have heard these two words, I'm sure. Would you discuss this sudden clarity some of us have? What do you mean by insight? And is it a momentary thing, or can it be continuous? Right? In the various talks the speaker has given, he has used the word insight. That is, to see into things, into the whole movement of thought, into the whole movement, for example, jealousy, to perceive the nature of greed, to see the whole content of sorrow. Not analysis, not exercise of intellectual capacity, nor is it the result of knowledge. Knowledge being that which has been accumulated through the past as experience, stored up in the brain. Therefore, knowledge is always goes with ignorance. There is no complete knowledge. Therefore, there is always knowledge and ignorance are like two horses tethered. So, then what is insight? You understand my question? You following this? Please, this may give you, it's a hot morning, but doesn't matter, a little bit. If it is not, the observation is not based on knowledge or on intellectual capacity of reasoning, exploring, and analyzing, then what is it? That's the whole question. And the questioner asks also, is it intuition? That word intuition is rather a tricky word, because many of us use that word. That word may be the feeling, the actuality of intuition may be the result of desire. One may desire something, and then a few days later you have an intuition about it. And you think that intuition is most extraordinarily important. But if you go into it rather deeply, you may find that it's based on desire, on fear, on various forms of pleasure. So one is rather doubtful about that word, especially used by those people who are rather romantic, who are rather imaginative, sentimental, and wanting something. And they will certainly have intuitions, but it may be based on some obvious self-deceptive desire. So we can, for the moment, we can put aside intuition, that word. I hope you are not hurting anybody who are caught in intuitions. And if that is not so, then what is insight? That is, to perceive something instantly and which must be true, logical, sane, rational. Understand? And that insight must act instantly. If it isn't that I have an insight and do nothing about it. If I have an insight, if one has an insight into the whole nature of thinking, you understand? That is, I'll explain a little bit about thinking. Thinking is the response of memory. Memory is the result of experience, knowledge stored up in the brain. And the memory responds. Where do you live? You answer. What's your name? There's immediate response. And so on. It is thought is the result or the response of the accumulated experience, knowledge as memory. That's simple. So that thought based upon or the outcome of knowledge, that thought is limited because knowledge is limited. So thought can never be all-inclusive. It must always be partial, limited, based on knowledge and ignorance. Therefore, it is everlastingly confined, limited, narrow. Right? Now, to have an insight into that, which means, is there an action which is not merely the repetition of thought? You following all this? To have an insight into, say, into organizations, let's take that. Right? To have an insight into it, which means that you are observing without memory, remembrances, without argumentation, pro and cons, just to see the whole movement and the demand for organization. You see? Then you have an insight into it. And from that insight you act. And that action is logical, is sane, healthy. It's not you have an insight and then you act the opposite. Then it's not insight. I wonder if you're getting all this. Sorry to be so emphatic. That's my way of doing it. To have an insight, for example, into the wounds, hurts that one has received from childhood. You understand my question? We're all people who are hurt for various reasons. From childhood till we die, there is this wound in us, psychologically. Now, to have an insight into the whole nature and structure of that hurt. Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you following all this? You're hurt, aren't you, sirs? Wounded psychologically? No, do. I mean, play the game with me, will you also? The ball is in your court. You're hurt, obviously. You may go to a psychologist, analyst, psychotherapist, and they trace you why you are hurt, what from childhood, your mother was this and your father was that, or you're put in the wrong pot and the right pot, and so on, so on, so on. No, don't please. Go into it. And by merely looking or seeking out the cause, the hurt is not going to be resolved. Right? It is there. And the consequences of that hurt is isolation, fear, resistance, and not to be hurt more, therefore self-enclosure. You know all this. That's the whole movement of being hurt. The hurt is the image that you have created for yourself, about yourself. You understand? Right? So, as long as that image remains, you will be hurt, obviously. Now, to have an insight into all that without analysis, to see it instantly, and the very perception of that insight which demands all your attention and energy, the hurt is dissolved. And therefore, when it's dissolved, there is no further hurt. I wonder if you get all this. Are you, if one may ask, most politely, you've heard this, have you got that insight that will dissolve your hurt completely, leaving no mark, and therefore no more hurt? Nobody can hurt. You don't say hurt you. Because the image that you have created about yourself is non-existent. Are you following all that? Are you doing it, or are you just merely verbally paying attention to the words?
I don't really understand what you mean about the way we created this.
Huh? What's up?
I don't really understand what you mean when you say, we have this created hurt.
He says he doesn't really understand what you mean when you say we have created this hurt.
Now, first of all, who is hurt? What do you mean by being hurt? Fine, so what do you mean by being hurt? You say, I am hurt. Consciously, you are aware of it or not. One is hurt. Now, what is that which is being hurt? You understand my question? You understand, sir? What is that which is hurt? You say it's me. What is that me? It's the image you have about yourself. If I have an image about myself as a marvelous spiritual blah blah, and you come along and say, no, you're a silly ass, I get hurt. That is thought. Please follow this. Thought has created an image about oneself, and that image is always comparing. It is my image is better than your image. And so on, so on, so on. So as long as one has this image about oneself, it is going to be trodden on by somebody. And that is called hurt, wound, psychologically. So the problem, to have an insight into that means to see the whole movement, the cause and the image. And therefore the very perception of it ends the image. You understand this? No? No? It's hot. Sorry about cool. Forgot. You say that organizations will not help man to find what we Christians call salvation. So why do you have your own organizations? You say organization will not help man to find what we Christians call salvation. So why do you have your own organizations? Okay. In 1925, perhaps some of you weren't born even, in 1925, the speaker was the head of a very big, vast organization. He was the head of it, and they looked up to him with devotion, all that stuff, candles and all that. No, please don't laugh. We are just stating facts. And it was considered a spiritual organization, a religious organization. And in 1925, or was it 28 or 29, I've forgotten, it's not important, that organization called the Order of the Star was dissolved by the speaker, because he said that any spiritual organization of any kind is not spiritual. And he dissolved that organization, returned the properties, whole works of it. Now, there are several foundations. One in India, one in this country, America, and Canada. In India, there are 5 schools in different parts of that country with a great deal of land. And there are schools. They are operated under the K Foundation, which is responsible for the land to see that the schools are properly, more or less in the right direction, less perhaps than more. And here also, there's a foundation with a school, and we are hoping that school will keep in the right direction. And the foundation is responsible to gather all these talks, tapes, publish, and so on and so on. And it's the same in America and in Canada. There is nothing spiritual about it. Right? They are merely, they act as function. They are necessary. Law demands it. And to publish the books, all the rest of it. And to see that the teachings are kept fairly pure. That's the only function of these foundations, right? It has no other function. They are not spiritual bodies which you can join and attain nirvana or heaven or whatever it is. It's very simple, very clear. Is that all right? So don't please, next time ask about why do you have organizations. It's very simple. There are schools, they publish books, tapes, arrange talks wherever I go, and some of them look after the speaker physically, because the speaker has no money. When the speaker is in India, they look after him. Here, they look after him. When the speaker is in America, they do the same. Full stop. Is that over? That's finished, isn't it? Shall we go on to the next question? Is sex incompatible with a religious life? What place has human relationship in spiritual evolution, endeavor? Is sex incompatible with a religious life? What place has human relationship in spiritual endeavor, right? First of all, why have human beings right throughout the world made sex as so important in their life? You understand my question? Why? Now in the West it's permissive. Boys or girls of 12, 13 have already sex. And one asks, why have human beings throughout their activities, throughout their life, made this thing as such a colossal importance? Once answer, put the question. We are sharing the question together, right? You're not just listening to a Delphi oracle, but together we are investigating. It's your life we are looking at. There are those gurus, and there is a whole philosophy called Tantra. Part of it is based on sex, that through sex you can reach God. whatever that God be. And that's very popular. And there are those, like the monks, the Indian sannyasis, and the Buddhist priests, have denied sex. Because they have all maintained that it's a waste of energy and to serve God you must come with all your energy. Therefore, deny, suppress, burn inside yourself with all the demands, but suppress it, control it. So you have the permissive and the so-called religious suppression, and those in between who enjoy everything. Both sides, they have their one foot in this and one foot in the other. Then they can talk about both things and see that if they cannot harmonize the two together and find God, or whatever you want to find. Probably you'll find at the end of it a lot of nonsense. So, we're asking, why has man, woman, made this sex business such importance? Right? Why don't you give the same importance to love? You understand? To compassion. To not to kill. Why do you give only such immense value to sex? You're following what I'm saying? You have wars, terrors, national divisions, the whole immoral society in which we live. Why don't you give as equal importance to all that and not only to this? You're following my question? Why? Is it because sex is your greatest pleasure in life? The rest of your life is a bore, a travail, a struggle, conflict, meaningless existence. And this at least gives you a certain sense of great pleasure, a sense of well-being, sense of, what you call relationship, and what you also call love. Right? Is that the reason why we are so sexually crazy? Go on, sir, answer yourselves. Because we are not free in any other direction. We have to go to the office from 9 to 5, where you are bullied, where there are bosses over you. You know, all that happens in an office, or in a factory, or in another job, where there is somebody dominating you. And our minds have become mechanical. Are you following all this? We repeat. We fall into a tradition, to a groove, into a rut. Our thinking is that. I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Catholic, I worship the Pope. The whole thing is clearly marked and we follow that. Or you reject all that and form your own routine. So our minds have become slaves to various patterns of existence. Right? So it had become mechanical. And sex may be pleasurable, and gradually that too becomes mechanical. So one asks, if you want to go very deeply into it, one asks, is love sex? Go and ask it. Is love pleasure? Is love desire? Is love a remembrance of an incident which you call sex, with all the imagination, the pictures, the thinking about it? Is that love? For God's sake. Is love a remembrance? And the questioner asks, Lord, I've forgotten where it is. Where it is. And the question asks, what a place has human relationship in spiritual endeavor? See what is reduced to? Spiritual human relationship is pleasure, sex, conflict, quarrels, divisions. You go your way, I go my way. You follow? That's our relationship. Actual relationship in our daily life. And what place has human relationship in spiritual endeavor? Obviously, the present relationship has no place whatsoever. Obviously. We are jealous of each other. We want to possess each other. We want to dominate each other. And so there is antagonism between each other. One is sexually unsatisfied, therefore you go to somebody else. And in that sexual relationship, there is loneliness. Right? All this. And always seeking your own pleasure. Is that all love? So you disregard, put aside that thing called love. Perhaps that's the most wonderful thing if one has. And are so caught up in this vortex of one's own desire, of one's own pleasure. Right? So we are always wanting not only sexual satisfaction, but gratification in every direction, which is based on pleasure. And that we call love. For that love will kill each other. Right? Love of the country. Oh, please. So, when you're at the end of this, you say, why has man, woman, given this one thing so extraordinarily important? all the magazines and all that was happening. Why? Is it man, woman have lost their creative capacity? Not sexual capacity. You understand? Creative capacity. To be able to see, to be a light to themselves. Not to follow anybody. Not to worship any image, illusion, belief. When you put aside all that, and you have understood your own petty little desires, which is your own sexual demands, gratifications, then when you see all that, have an insight into all that, then out of that comes creation. Doesn't mean painting a picture, writing a poem. That sense of ever freshness, you understand? Having a mind that is fresh, young, innocent all the time, not clouded, burdened with all kinds of memories, dissatisfactions, fears and anxiety. When you have lost all that, there is a totally different kind of mind. Then sex has its own place. But when sex becomes a means of religious endeavor, you understand what I'm saying? Then we'll get completely bogged down. Apparently, we don't have that quality of skepticism. You understand? To be skeptical about one's own demands. To question, doubt these innumerable gurus. And doubt also becomes rather dangerous. Because if you don't hold it, then you doubt everything. Then there's no end. It's like having a dog on a leash. You must let it go occasionally or often so that the dog enjoys himself, runs about. In the same way, doubt must be kept on a leash and also take away the leash. So the mind is, mind being your heart, your brain, your emotion, everything active. Not just directed in one direction, which is sex, sex, sex. Can thought be aware of itself as it is taking place, or does the awareness come after the thought? Can consciousness be aware of its whole content? I'll read it once more. Can thought be aware of itself as it is taking place, or does the awareness come after the thought? Can consciousness be aware of its whole content? Most of us are aware after the happening, right? After the incident, after an action. Then we say, I should have done, I shouldn't have done. The questioner asks, can thought be aware of itself as it arises? Not after, which is fairly simple, which is what most of us do. But the question is, can thought as it arises can there be awareness of that? You understand the question? You understand the question at least? Can you be aware, please listen to this, of your thought? Can thought be aware of itself as it arises? You understand the question? That is, one's whole life is based on thought. Thought recognizing the emotion, the sentiment, the romantic feelings, the imagination, so on. Thought is recognizing all this, right? Oh, I'm very emotional, and so on. Now, thought is our instrument of all action, right? Therefore, there is no spontaneity. If you look into yourself seriously, spontaneity can only exist when there is complete, total freedom. Psychologically. So can your mind be aware of itself as thought arises? That is, is there an awareness as when you begin to be angry? You follow all this? Can there be an awareness as jealousy arises? Can there be an awareness as greed comes be aware of that? Can there be? Or you are aware that you have been jealous, or that you have been greedy, or that you've been angry. That's fairly simple. Most of us do that. But to be aware so attentively, you can see for yourself the anger coming in, the adrenaline and all the processes, the whole movement of anger. You can see greed come into being. See something you want and you follow the reaction. To be aware of that. Of course one can, as it arises. Now the question is a little more difficult, more deep, is can thought, please listen to this, which is you can be aware as anger arises. That's fairly simple. But is there an awareness of thought, awareness of thought itself? You understand what I'm saying? You're thinking now, aren't you? Or are you all absent-minded? You're thinking now, aren't you? Now, as you are thinking, find out if that thinking can be aware of itself, not you aware of thinking. You understand the problem? I wonder if you see this. It is great. This is really great fun if you go into it. Not only fun, it's very, very serious because we can go very, very deeply into all this. That is, you are thinking about something, about your dress or your look, or what people have said, what you're going to meet, and this and that. Thinking is there. Now, take one thought and see if that thought can know itself. Yes, sir, this requires tremendous attention, and which you're not used to. You are thinking about the dress you have had or you're going to buy. The thought that arises, can that thought say, yes, I'm awake? You understand? I see myself. Itself, not you observe the thought. Because you are also thought. You understand? So you are not aware as thought arises. But thought itself is aware as it comes into being. I wonder if you see this. No. Right? That's one question. The other is, can consciousness be aware of its whole content? You understand? Consciousness, to put it very quickly and briefly, is its content, isn't it? Your belief, your name, your nationality, your prejudices, your opinions, your conclusions, your hopes, your despairs, your depression, your concern about yourself. You believe and you don't believe. You believe in being a British, not British. You follow God, no God. So all that, your anxiety, your fears, all that is the content of you. Right? Your sexual demands, your urges, your pleasures, all that is your consciousness. And can that consciousness, please listen to it, be aware of its own content as a whole, not just part? You get the point? No, you can't. You don't do it. This real meditation, you understand? Not all the nonsense that goes on. Because to see the whole of your being, not just your sexual demands, because sex isn't your only life. There are fears, death, anxiety, guilt, despair, depression, you follow? Sorrow, all that's part of your life. So all that is your consciousness. Now the questioner asks, can your consciousness be aware of its whole content? That means, can you observe? Is there not you observe, is there an observation of the whole thing? One has to go very deeply into this. We haven't time, but I'll go briefly into it. That consciousness is put together by time, through what we call evolution. You have had incidents, accidents, remembrances, racial, national, and so on, family. All that is a movement contained in consciousness. Right? And is it ever possible to be completely free of that content? You understand? No, you're not interested in all this. This is really very important, because otherwise we're always acting in the field of the known. The known being the unknown, also the ignorance. There's never freedom. That's a man living always in the past, as you do. You may project that past into the future as an idea, as a hope, and so on. But it's still the movement of the past, modified through the present. Right? So, a man who is completely, more or less living in the past, what is his mind? You understand? He may have new techniques, new opportunities to learn other forms of skills, but it is centrally in himself, his consciousness is the movement of the past. Right? So, a man who is living in the past, or a woman, what happens to his brain, mind? It can never be free. So a man who inquires into this very seriously has to find out whether this whole consciousness with its content can be seen at once, which is to have total insight into this. I don't know if you ever considered looking at anything wholly. To look at your wife or your girl or your husband, whatever it is, wholly. Not just her face, her this or that, but the whole quality of another human being. And you can only do that when the you is not. You understand? When you are not centered here, me. The me is very small, very petty, because the me is the accumulation of all this. So, when you begin to inquire into this, whether it is possible to see the whole content and movement of consciousness, which means the whole structure of the being. That requires pure observation, you understand? Not your direction, prejudice, like and dislike, all the rest of it, but just purely to observe this vast structure, very complex. Because of its very complexity, you must come to it very simply. Right? Shall I go on with one more question? I hope you want. I have tried all kinds of meditation, fasting, and a voluntary isolation, solitary life, but it has come to nothing. Is there one thing or one quality that will end my seeking and my confusion? And if there is, what am I to do? May I read the question again? I have tried all kinds of meditation, fasting, and a voluntary, solitary life. But it has come to nothing. Is there one thing or one quality that will end my seeking and my confusion is there? If there is, what am I to do? You understand this question? Are you in that position? You understand the question? That is, one goes to Japan, Zen Buddhism, Zen meditation, the various forms of Tibetan, Hindu, the Christian, and all the innumerable meditations man has invented. And this big questioner says, I've been through all that. I have done yoga of various kinds, fasted, led a solitary life, trying to find out what is truth. And at the end of it all, I have found nothing. You understand this? You people don't. It isn't a tragedy to you, is it? Is there one thing, one quality that will end my seeking and my confusion? If there is, tell me what to do. You understand the full meaning of this question? I met a man once. He was a very old man. I was quite young. Grey hair, almost dying. And he heard one of the talks and came to see me afterwards. And he said, I have spent 25 years of my life in solitude, in meditation. I've been married and so on. But I left all that. And for 25 years I meditated. And I see, now that I have heard you, that I have lived in an illusion. You understand? 25 years, you people don't know a thing. And to say to oneself, I have lived an illusion, I have deceived myself. You understand? At the end of 25 years to say that. Which means a wasted life, which you are doing anyhow, without being meditating for 25 years. And he asks, what is the one thing, one action, one step that will resolve my confusion, the end to my search? You understand the question? Are you in that position? Any of you? Except the questioner? You understand, you have come to the end of your tether. You have read, you have walked, you have heard, you have cried, you have meditated, you have longed, you have sacrificed. You understand? Probably you haven't done any of those things. And if you have, then what is the one thing that will resolve all this? First of all, don't seek. You understand what it means? Because if you seek, you will find. What you find, what you have already sought. I wonder if you see all this. What you will find in your search is what you have projected. You, being your priest, your gods, your professor, your guru, your philosophy, your experience. That projected in the future you will find. Therefore, a wise man doesn't seek. And the questioner says, what is the one thing for that one thing, there must be total freedom from all attachment. To your body, to your exercises, to your yoga, to your own opinions, judgments, and persons and beliefs. Complete freedom from all attachment. Right? Don't make it a sorrowful thing, it isn't. There must be no fear. Wait, this is not one thing. Absolutely no psychological fear. And therefore, when there is physical fear, you deal with it. You understand what I'm saying? When somebody is attacking you, you deal with it. But psychologically, there is no fear. That means no time is tomorrow. No, you don't get all this. And the mind, having understood the nature of sorrow, therefore freedom from sorrow, which doesn't mean that you are indifferent and all the rest of freedom from sorrow. Right? These are only indications, not the final thing. If these don't exist, the other final thing cannot be. You understand the point? I don't think you do. Look, sir, a man or a woman, a man has spent years and years searching, seeking, asking, demanding, so-called sacrificing, taking vows of celibacy, poverty. You follow? And at the end of it all, he says, my God, I have nothing. I have ashes in my hand. Even though they think they have in their hands Christ or Jesus or the Buddha, it is still ashes. I wonder if you see all this. And such a man asks, what is the right action in my life? Right action which will be right under all circumstances. It doesn't vary from time to time according to culture, according to nation, according to education. Right, precise, actual. When all this is clear, that your mind is totally unattached, to itself, you understand? To its own body. And no fear. And the ending of sorrow. Then if that is clear, the one thing is compassion. Understand? Out of all this comes compassion. Then compassion, not ashes in your hand. It isn't the compassion that does social reform, social work. The saints, it's in the compassion of the saints. Compassion of the people who go out in the war and heal doctors and so on, so on. It's not that at all. It's the one answer that is true under all circumstances, and therefore out of that, right action. Because compassion goes with intelligence. If there is no intelligence which is born out of compassion instead, then you get lost in some trivialities. And the world then accepts those trivialities as being the extraordinary acts of compassion. They become saints and they become heroes, they become all kinds of idiotic recognitions of silly people. So there is one act, one quality that is supreme, and that is compassion with its intelligence. And out of that intelligence there is a right action under all circumstances. That's enough.